Of the 300 members in the National Assembly, one, just one, is not of Korean descent. Her name is Jasmine Lee, and she joins us now on After 10 to talk about multiculturalism in Korea and President-elect Park Geun-hye's National Happiness Campaign. Ms. Lee, we are very happy to have you here. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Now, you assumed office in June of last year, to much fanfare and publicity, I might add. Mostly because of your background, I think. You were born in the Philippines, became a naturalized Korean citizen, and then, as I mentioned there, the first non-ethnic Korean to take a seat in the National Assembly. It's been about 8 months now. Hopefully things have settled down for you a bit. What have you been focusing on in that period of time?
Well, for the past 8 months, actually, there's a lot of things that's been going on. Of course, as you mentioned in the beginning, there's a lot of media attention. It's been there like from the very beginning. I'm just so happy that at least I've been working in the limelight even before I became a lawmaker. So it kind of helped a bit. But you know, media attention can be a good tool, can be a good help and a burden as well. But of course, the past 8 months will actually, and I think for the next 3.5 more years, the remaining years, it's like gonna be walking on eggshells, you know, having to being careful enough, you know, not to break anything, because it might actually be what I do and what I've been doing will actually be the basis of having another immigrant, having an opportunity for another immigrant to be the second or the third, or for whatever it is. And the assembly, as you, I don't know if you heard about it, but the assembly in Korean is actually called a fishbowl. You know, that everyone is like actually looking in at there and looking at whatever it is that you're doing, and they get to evaluate what you do. So I think the media attention that came actually is a sort of relief, not just a sort of relief, but it's actually the pressure from the media is actually a help for me to do, you know, to do better, to do whatever it is that I have to do in a way that a lot of people actually is expecting or more.
The two words there that I kind of took away were pressure and burden.
Yeah.
I imagine you do feel a bit of burden from the 1 million plus foreigners living in the country. What are they saying to you when you meet with them?
Oh, there's a lot of good things, actually, you know, especially from being the first will actually, you know, carrying the burden of being the first is actually one of the things that these people are being proud of. Yeah, they're actually being proud of me being a part of the assembly. It's like giving them hope that, oh, we can actually do this in Korea. This could actually happen, which they actually, a lot of people, even me, were thinking about it. You know, maybe I think it's not far away, actually. Back in 2010, we have the first non-ethnic Korean politician. She's now a councillor from Gyeonggi-do. She's Ira. And she's still now in office. And after her, we kind of thought that maybe there could be more. I just happened to have the opportunity. And people around me, it's like they're just proud of me being here. And a lot of people actually got interested in politics. A lot of foreign people, a lot of immigrants actually got interested in politics. A part of the society that they don't really have any interest before me. So when I came into the picture, they kind of, the society is actually giving us a window, an opportunity to say what we have to say, and they're here. It just means that they're there to listen.
You certainly, their voice, I suppose, in the government now, and I mentioned the burden. What sort of concerns are they bringing to you, though? What sort of things do they ask you they want changed, or they want to see sort of improved upon in Korea?
Well, I think the very basic stuff that actually made me start to work regarding the multicultural sector is actually the difference in how people see the foreign community and the immigrants in South Korea. It changed. When I came here, people will just throw me looks, but it's actually looks. The cause of it is actually curiosity. Oh, she's a foreigner. How did she came here?
Back in 1995.
That's back in 1995. But back in 2000, because of the sudden influx and the, you know, the fast increase in numbers of not only of the workers but of the marriage immigrants. Of course, with the increase, the problems that's coming from the multicultural sector, the foreign sector, actually starting to surface, and you can see them all in the media. And a lot of people changed their views regarding foreigners, like some Korean people actually think that foreigners are actually bad, and they actually like the marriage migrants themselves. You know, they look down at all these marriage immigrants because of the fact that they think that they're uneducated, or they're from the male, or they got married to the mail order bride system. So and for the workers, for the what we call here in Korea non-skilled workers. That they are taking away jobs that's actually meant for the Korean population. So there's a lot of negativity going on. So things like, for example, things like cases regarding foreigners, like for example, the Owensson case are being, I think it's being more
amplified,
amplified by a lot, by how people look at the community. So they tend to generalize that everyone, you know, all of them are like criminals, and all of them are like runaway brides, and all of them are going to be problems of the society. Of course, the multicultural society and the sudden influx of the foreign people in Korea is a pretty new phenomenon in South Korea. So you can't really be, it's not really a big wonder that people will actually be afraid of what's going to happen, because they don't really know. This is a pretty new thing for South Korea, and they don't really know what's happening. And hearing news about multicultural, you know, countries which accepted multiculturalism, like Europe, what happened to France and all the other countries that who actually are declaring that multiculturalism is a failure, you know, you get all of the frightening stuff, so you get to think of the negative. So a lot of people, a lot of foreign people, even the immigrants, what they actually want to do is, you know, at least change the perspective. I mean, to better the perspective of the people.
And how do you do that, though?
Well, actually, that's the first thing that I actually thought of when I came to the assembly. I was working, as I've said, in the media for like the past 7 years, and I noticed the change. And living in Korea for 19 years, I noticed the change. So I think we have to do some campaign, or do something to better the perspective of the people, and of course to prepare in the future for whatever the social conflicts that may arise in the future, because Korea is pretty much different with the way Europe, because of the workers in Europe. Most of the immigration is because of the workers. Now, Korea is actually concentrating more on the marriage immigrants, so they're being absorbed with the Korean family a lot, like right after they immigrate. So, what we actually think, what I actually want to do is actually get the media to work on it, you know, have a change on how the media is actually showing the multicultural side of the society. Also, last year I made one of the first bills that I actually passed is actually a bill regarding teaching, understanding, having a multiculturalism, understanding multiculturalism programs, projects to be given to teachers and government workers, because they're the most people that, you know, teachers for the children and the government workers are, they actually meet a lot. I actually receive a lot of complaint from foreigners who met a lot of government workers and didn't really find them too friendly, perhaps.
More helpful, perhaps.
Yeah, so we did that, and also help for the multicultural family kids. I made a bill to be able to help them. Help the multicultural kids with their education, of course, and a lot of different things. Now, what I'm looking forward right now is actually the installation of an institution or a committee that will actually help balance all of because we have like all of the multicultural policies are being done, and all of the projects are being done by the 11 ministries. So there's like duplication of projects, and there's a lot of different stuff. So what a lot of people want to know is, what can I get or what help can I get? But they cannot. They're not getting it at the right institutions.
Talking about establishing this committee, sort of on multicultural policies, is that correct? That plan was rejected, though. Am I not correct in that?
No, actually, it's not actually rejected. There's been a lot of, like, for example, the Ministry of Justice actually had this idea of having an immigration agency, but actually, I think it's still difficult. Last year, during one of the campaign pledges of the president includes the institution of an independent agency, but I think we had some sort of misunderstanding, because people are actually thinking of making another government, another ministry, or another agency, but it's not the only way to do that. As of the moment, we have under the Prime Minister a multicultural policy committee, which and a foreign policy committee. So we have those two committees under the Prime Minister. The problem is what they do is only get to meet once or twice a year and plan out, have some meetings and plan out the next 5 years. So what to do, the policies for the next 5 years. But they don't really have the power. They don't really have the power to influence whatever the projects or the policies that's being done under all of the other ministries. So what we need is to strengthen the said committees to having a secretariat to actually do more, or even a committee under the President's office.
And you've been in office now for 8 months, not a very long time in the grand scheme of things,
yes,
but enough time to, I think that you've gotten a sense of where your colleagues in the National Assembly are and what they're thinking. What are they thinking? Are they generally supportive of this multicultural society, or is there some pushback from them as well in those ranks?
Well, as far as I'm concerned right now, and as far as with all of the people that I met in the assembly, with all of the colleagues, they're all very supportive of because they know that you can't just, because multiculturalism is not something you cannot actually avoid. It's now here, it's coming. Unless you close up Korea and don't let other people in and don't let other people out, it's going to happen. Globalization is going to happen. A lot of people will be coming in, a lot of people will be going out. So it's going to happen, and they do understand the need for us to be ready, the need for the country to be ready to face all of the possible social conflicts, and to face all of the possible social conflicts that may actually occur later. Now, of course, there are different opinions regarding, how things should be implemented. But as far as for me, they've been so supportive of me and of the bills that I'm actually passing. And it's quite odd because in my case, there's no opposite party or there's no majority party. Everyone, when you say multicultural, okay, she's the one to go to. When you have some problems regarding multicultural policies, you go to her office and she's going to tell you the right thing. So they're just so supportive of everything that I do, and I'm just so thankful. And
I imagine that's where some of that burden comes in too, if they're all coming to you.
Yeah, it's just everything that comes out, and every problem that might arise from it, they will actually, well, she did it. It's
sure,
like a very easy thing to point fingers to.
Sure, but you're also here today to speak about this as well, so we do appreciate that. Now, we keep bringing up this term multiculturalism. You were quoted in a New York Times piece a few months back as saying that Korea was already a multicultural society. What did you mean by that?
Well, it's actually, I had it long before I was doing all these lectures. I actually gave them a simpler view of what the word multicultural is, like having diverse cultures. So I told them, people from Gyeongsang-do, wearing people from Jeollado, from 2 different provinces. This also, you can call them multicultural because they have different cultures from different provinces. Even the food is different, their dialect is different. So I kind of told them that, and someone who is listening to us, I told them, to what kind of people are you putting the word multicultural? We're not multicultural. And they were just so negative about the word that it made, it was off. But it is actually Korea right now is a multicultural society. You have a lot of people from diverse backgrounds, either they're workers or marriage immigrants or just tourists who is already here. So you can't actually stop multiculturalism. As, like a while ago I told you that most of the colleagues that I work with actually think that, you know, multicultural societies actually here in South Korea right now, we're actually having a multicultural society. I mean, here in Korea, you and me talking right now, it's pretty
very
multicultural.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, but the problem is the word multicultural, when it first started out, I was happy about it. It was a welcoming factor for me because I thought it's a word that will actually shows that you know, the society is now acknowledging that we're a part of the society.
But there are people that are not happy with that term, though, right?
Yes, because after that word came out, just like not more than a year or two, even it happened to me, it became like a very invisible line that, you know, that differentiates Korean families from multicultural families. So instead of a word to acknowledge a part of a society, it became a word to segregate people. So segregate different sectors. And so, and as far as it denotes, like if people say that you're from a multicultural family, it actually denotes that it's a family wherein a Korean is married to a Southeast Asian woman and who, you know, wasn't able to get education or doesn't have money, or they got her from the marriage brokerage, so it's a mail order bride. So very negative stuff, and all this family are poor, and the kids can't you know, they're having difficulty in school, they're having difficulty adjusting to the society. So they're being, a multicultural family is actually being drawn up as a problem
the way it's
for
being
the society.
Defined,
yes, as of the moment.
But at the same time, though, this is a freight train that Korea is not going to be able to stop or get out of the way of. In the long run, this is going to benefit Korea, is it not?
Yes, well, the start of the influx of the marriage immigrants in Korea is because of a need of Korea, because back in the rural areas you can't find brides for the men in the rural areas. So it actually started as a campaign from the government. They actually spent out, they actually gave a budget for those men in the rural areas to be able to get married to foreign brides. So it's actually a project of the government, and of course the workers, the labor, for the jobs, you know, for the labor field. Of course, all of this, all of these immigrant workers are called upon because of a need to, you know, to do business as usual, to work on the factories, because there are no people working in the factories. Of course, in the long run, it should benefit Korea.
And I think your job, I suppose, over the next few years is going to be to sort of help that process along, as you've been saying here.
Yes.
What would you put at the top of your agenda right now as something that you would like to see changed in the next few years?
Yes. As far as I am concerned right now, at least for the moment, my biggest concern is actually, because a lot of people has been having complaints, and before I even became a lawmaker like 3 to 4 years ago, I've been hearing a lot of stories about, no, not only stories, but I know I've been seeing a lot of stuff that most government agencies or most government ministries are actually doing very short-term projects. So short-term, they have these policies, but they are only doing short-term projects. Now, they are not doing anything to you know, to better the perspective. They're not doing any projects or programs to better the perspective of the mainstream society regarding their acceptance of multiculturalism, and they're not doing anything to prepare Korea for the possible social conflicts that will actually happen in the future.
So what would you have them do then?
So. As of now, that's the main thing, because there's no particular ministry who can actually, or who would want to work for a long, for a project which needs, you know, a bit of a time,
right,
a long time to do. So the need for an independent agency or an independent committee or an independent organization to be to do all this stuff, and then to actually gather all of the multicultural policies, control them, and you know, have control over the policies and how the ministries actually do all these policies and all these programs, so we can have at least we can have you know a definite like a definite work table on what we have to do. We have a definite plan on what we have right now, and then we can just gather them all and have a particular organization to work through it.
This idea of having a committee basically watching over all the policies that deal with multicultural, the thing we talked about earlier.
Yes, to be able to regulate all of the multicultural policies, as well as the projects being done by almost all of the ministries. So it will actually ensure proper rendering of the policies, as well as to avoid overlap of programs, because like for example, like the Ministry of Gender, MOGEF right now, Ministry of Gender Equality is actually, they actually have this Korean language program. Most of the budget that they're using is for the Korean language program, which also the Ministry of Justice is doing. So, you know, it's like two particular, almost the same projects, and the two different ministries fighting for it, and then two budgets going in there. So what the multicultural society, what the multicultural families actually, they're not actually getting, because you're having this duplication of projects and everything.
Streamline the process a bit better. I promised at the top we would talk about President-elect Park Geun-hye's National Happiness Campaign. We're running short on time, but I do want to bring it up really quickly here.
Okay.
She is promoting this campaign. In your mind, what does happiness look like for multicultural families in Korea in the long term? What would you advise President-elect Park to do?
Well, actually, during the past presidential election, we have campaign pledges. We actually made lots of campaign pledges, and we just hope most of the campaign pledges that we have is, of course, for them to be able support for the multicultural families. But as far as I know, multicultural families has been here, like they've been here for like 20 years, 30 years, so we have to get ready for the future. So and kind of we have all these campaign pledges worked out for. It's a systematic campaign pledge, you know, not only for the immigrant themselves, but for the family and for the whole Korea itself. So I think if all of the campaign pledges that we made last year for the presidential elections, if each one of them gets organized and you know, gets to happen, I think we will have a better multicultural, how can I say that? A better look on the multicultural society of Korea in the future.
It's certainly a tall task and one that's going to take time, but you will be working hard over the next few years to address those issues. Jasmine Lee, thank you very much for taking time to speak with us.
Thank you very much for having me.
And thank you very much, as always, for watching. We'll see you next week after 10.